Are you still sending your kids to government indoctrination centers? Be careful that they're not picked up by the CPS for some asinine reason. What's in the news with stories on a Vault 7 update, taxation of charity, LBRY saves 20,000 lectures, judicially supported tyranny, and the USDA is a terrorist organization, and a How to Live a Lava Lifestyle in a Statist Society segment on encrypting your hard drive and facial recognition.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. Coming to you from the state that was the home of Goody Cole, the only witch ever convicted in New Hampshire. This is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Revolution needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at the Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 58, Child Protective Services is Immoral, and it's Tuesday, March 28th, 2017, when there have already been more than 285 people killed by police this year. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. Look, I know it's tough to homeschool. I've been there. It takes a lot of time, energy, extra cost, but it is wonderful and worth every bit of it. But even if it weren't, it would still be worthwhile for one simple fact. My kids will never spend a single day being indoctrinated by government bureaucrats who only have the state's best interest at heart and not my child. Case in point, a 7-year-old boy in Ohio has been taken away from his parents because they dared to choose to exercise their right to make medical decisions for their own children. I kid you not. Camden, the 7-year-old boy, was apparently disruptive in class and was sent to the school counselor. Camden told the counselor that he was, quote, upset because he felt that he was bad and wanted to erase himself from the earth. After more probing from this pitiful excuse for a counselor, Camden, who is a 7-year-old boy, mind you, who makes up stories for his own comic strips, came up with the idea that he would stab himself in the eye with a knife. This response prompted a call to his parents. The parents had a very long talk with Camden, and as Christian, his father said, quote, Camden said that he did not want to hurt himself, and just said that because he was upset and wanted to see what the counselor would say. The school thought we should have taken him to the hospital emergency room for a mental health evaluation, but upon assessing the situation and speaking to him at home, it was clear to us that he posed no threat to himself and just said it to get a rise out of the counselor. He's never said anything about harming himself prior to this incident or after. This was one time, one day, most likely repeating something he heard somewhere else. If we really believed that he would have really hurt himself, then we would have taken him to be assessed. They've blown this way out of proportion. The school phoned the family the next morning to ask if they had taken him to the hospital. When they explained that they had had a long conversation with him and addressed the situation, the school demanded to know how they addressed it and what the content of their conversation was. When the parents told them that the details of the conversation was a private family matter, the school officials bristled and called CPS, claiming neglect. Social workers, of course, then called the Maples to investigate. They wanted to come into the home and talk with the children. Christian explained the situation and told them that Camden was fine. He also told them that an investigation would impose on their right to privacy and their fundamental right of child rearing and medical decision-making on behalf of their child, all of which have already been written into case law. He also cited the Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures and told them that they would need a warrant before they would be allowed to enter his home or talk to the other children. 2 weeks after all of this, on March 3rd, Christian received a phone call that there was a, quote, emergency shelter care hearing later that day. At court, the Maples learned for the first time that the school had called CPS on 4 other occasions during the past year. Katie, Camden's stepmother, says that all of the allegations were false and, quote, obviously completely made up. CPS never contacted us about these phone calls because they themselves admit that the calls were unsubstantiated. Magistrate Jennifer Coatney reportedly told Katie in court, quote, you see what happens? This is what will happen to your other children if you don't cooperate. Now that is nothing more than a blatant threat. From the bench. What a load of bullshit. Later that day, social workers showed up at the Maples home with 8 armed police officers and with every intention of taking Camden into state custody. The Maples felt that they had no choice but to comply. CPS seized Camden and placed him with a relative. The court has ordered that Christian and Katie complete a psychological evaluation and a drug and alcohol evaluation. They're also to be randomly drug tested. Now, neither of these two has any history or so much as an allegation of any drug or alcohol abuse or mental health issue. Now, they've completed the evaluations, which all came back clean. They said that their psychological evaluator was thoroughly confused as to why they were even there. Camden has also been subjected to both a physical and a mental health evaluation. From what the family has gathered, there were no concerns with the results, and no services have been ordered for Camden based on the results. However, social worker Katie Powell reportedly stated to the Maples that she would like to see Camden do counseling at the school, quote, just to make sure that he doesn't have thoughts of harming himself. As of today, Camden is still not home with his family. He was literally kidnapped by men in costumes nearly 4 weeks ago and is not allowed to have contact with his parents at all. It breaks my heart thinking about how scared this child must be after being ripped away from his family in such a way. If this were my youngest kid, he would be terrified right now. This kid said nothing that any number of imaginative kids haven't said before. Kids say all sorts of things to test reactions. It's what kids do. It's normal. What is not normal is for adults to behave the way they have over this. The sad part is that the child here is acting like much more of an adult than the statists representing the state. Christian Maple, the father, is a big believer in the Constitution and individual rights, but says that when he asserted them, quote, they took them all away. This is just further proof that the Constitution is not worth the paper it was written on, and Lysander Spooner was right in No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority. Quote, but whether the Constitution really be one thing or another, this much is certain, that it has either authorized such a government as we have had, or has been powerless to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist. If the document allows for men to kidnap a child away from a family for no cause like this, then the Constitution isn't even worth wiping my ass with. Is that crass? Yes. Is it true? 100%.
Hello, friends. Scott McDonald here. Please listen to my show, The ANCAP Barbershop. We would like to be your source for libertarianism and anarchy. My co-host Adam and I discuss current events, politics, and philosophy. The ANCAP Barbershop is not your run-of-the-mill political podcast. We have a flair for the irreverent and an appreciation for all things irrelevant. If you would like to help us smash the state, please subscribe wherever you consume podcasts, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a good one, and we hope to see you at the shop.
Fuck. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is liberty. Each week we strive to bring you the best guests in talk radio. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad delivers weekly interviews of noteworthy politicians, experts, and activists. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is bringing the party to the Libertarian Party and launching ideas in your direction. Check us out at johnnyrocketlaunchpad.com. You can hear me, Kurt Nelson, and the beautiful Heather Nixon talk about the ideas of liberty. Rock and roll.
Got me a bullet in just one night while you shoot me a book in a hole.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In Vault 7 news, the CIA apparently reviewed several different popular antivirus programs and some of the documents that were released by WikiLeaks. The good news is that most of the vulnerabilities mentioned in these documents have already been repaired by the antivirus companies, but it makes you wonder what vulnerabilities haven't been caught yet. For example, a flaw that was fixed years ago, quote, enables the CIA to bypass Kaspersky's protections. Another flaw in the AVG antivirus software was called, quote, totally sweet by the CIA, and it was a theoretical bypass of the AVG scanning engine. This flaw has also been repaired. Same with the Kaspersky Lab antivirus as well. Interestingly, though, the F-Secure product was called a, quote, lower-tier product that causes us minimal difficulty. Instead of speaking to that issue, an officer at F-Secure tried to change the subject to the CIA's decision not to warn antivirus companies about the flaws in their procedures. Now, while that's an important topic, the fact that he changed the subject concerns me. You'd think that the first comment would be that they've patched issues instead of changing the topic. I recommend staying away from F-Secure. Out of all of the programs listed, it seems that Bitdefender was the toughest for the CIA to crack. Bitdefender is a Romanian product, and it seemed to cause the CIA hackers a lot of trouble. Bitdefender Representative Marius Bertucci said the only conclusion to draw was that, quote, we are detecting the CIA tools. It certainly seems that way. In taxation and theft news, the Internal Revenue Service is going after $19,000 in taxes from $50,000 that was donated to a lady to help pay for her travel and medical expenses related to her issues. Casey Scharf, 20 years old, survived a horrible car accident that broke her neck and back in several places. During tests and scans to check for accident injuries, doctors discovered tumors hidden throughout Casey's body. She had no idea that she had cancer. March 30, 2015, the IRS notified Scharf that what she'd collected through the GoFundMe account should have been claimed as income. Of the nearly $50,000, the government wants $15,457 in back taxes and another $3,676 in penalties and interest. In total, the letter indicates that she owes the IRS $19,133 by April 29th. Casey said, quote, "We've already used that money for my doctor's bills and everything that I've needed. It's donations. It's not income. So how can they tax you on that? I don't get it." How can they tax you on it, Casey? Because they own you and they own the people who donated. They can take a product of your labor or the labor of others who donated to you by force, and like it or not, that does mean that they own you. In ANCAP app update news, LBRY, the protocol that provides a completely decentralized network for discovering, distributing, and publishing all types of content and information, from books to movies, has taken a huge step to show the value of its product. When a judge told the University of California at Berkeley that it had to delete 20,000 lectures from its YouTube channel, LBRY copied the videos before they were removed and made them permanently available on their protocol for free. The videos had to be removed, according to the judge, because Berkeley didn't take the thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars needed to caption all of them, pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act. So instead of having access for the majority of the world for free, these videos had to be pulled down because of 2 deaf employees at a different college. But no more. LBRY has made sure that the videos are freely available and discoverable by all, without reliance on any one entity to provide them. The full catalog of videos is 4 terabytes. You can find out more about LBRY at LBRY.io. In New Hampshire, it's like this too news. The New Hampshire Senate voted down a bill that would have upped the minimum wage to $12 per hour by late 2018. New Hampshire currently doesn't have a state minimum wage and instead defaults to the federal rate of $7.25 per hour. 19 states across the country began this year with higher minimum wages. Earlier this year in the State House of Representatives, a bill to raise the minimum wage in that house to $9.50 in January and $12 by 2019 was also downed by 193 to 163 vote. By 2011, the legislature repealed the state's minimum wage. Efforts since then to reestablish a state rate have always been repeatedly defeated. In judicially supported tyranny news, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit issued a ruling saying that the Constitution does not necessarily require law enforcement officers to stop police dogs from brutally mauling innocent people. If this ruling stands, the decision would ensure that a homeless man who was disfigured by a police dog will not be able to sue a police officer who knew the man was innocent and allowed the dog to continue attacking him anyway. This case goes back to 2010. When Officer Terrence Garrison and his cop dog were tracking a robbery suspect in High Point, North Carolina. The dog led the cop to an abandoned house, then attacked a man crouched behind a bush near the front stoop. The cop quickly realized that the man did not match the physical description of the suspect. In fact, he was Christopher Maney, a homeless man accused of no crime whatsoever. But Garrison decided that the man might still be dangerous, so he demanded that Maney show his hands before calling off the dog. But Maney was in the process of using his hands to try to protect himself against the dog and pleaded with Garrison to stop the dog's attack, insisting that he had done nothing wrong. After allowing the mauling to continue for 10 more seconds, Garrison finally told the dog to stop. He then put Maney in handcuffs and called medical support. Maney arrived at the hospital in critical condition. The dog bit the top of his head, tearing away a 2-inch section of hair, skin, and tissue that ultimately required a nearly 16-inch skin graft. Deep bites on Maney's arm and thigh led to a brachial artery blood clot and profuse bleeding, bruising, and swelling. Maney sued Garrison, alleging a violation of his Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable seizures. Under the Fourth Amendment, a dog bite qualifies as a seizure of the person, and Maney argued that Garrison prolonged the biting for an unreasonable amount of time. And clearly that's the case. But the Fourth Circuit concluded that Garrison was shielded from the lawsuit by qualified immunity, meaning that he did not violate a, quote, clearly established constitutional right. According to the majority, Fourth Amendment precedents do not unambiguously prohibit officers from, quote, prolonging a dog bite seizure until a subject complies with orders to surrender. The majority likened the mauling to a Terry stop, during which an officer may briefly stop and frisk individuals on the basis of reasonable suspicion. What the actual fuck? A Terry stop? Are you kidding me? Allowing a dog to continue to maul an innocent human being who is not resisting in any way is now a Terry stop? What the hell will they think of next? Quote, I only shot him in the chest, not in the head, so hell, that was just a Terry stop. This is just disgusting to me. This is court-approved terror and mutilation of an innocent human being. In the USDA is a terror organization news, a 14-year-old boy and his dog came across an improvised explosive device in a field next to their private property. The dog is now dead, and the boy could have been. Luckily, he was only sprayed in the eye and on his clothing with cyanide. The U.S. Department of Agriculture apparently plants cyanide bombs, I shit you not, to control coyotes and other predators. These are called M44s, and they're spring-activated devices that release the deadly gas when they're activated through upward pressure or pulling. In the area of Idaho where this incident happened, there were no neighborhood notifications, and even the law enforcement wasn't notified about these being planted. There was no sign or posting of any kind near where the devices are. I can only assume the USDA is afraid that the coyotes can read and don't want to warn them away. That's the only logical reason that they didn't put some sort of a sign up notifying people about these devices. This specific device was just 300 yards from the family home and was planted right on the border of their property. R. Andre Bell, a spokesman for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, said in a statement, quote, Wildlife Services understands the close bonds between people and their pets and sincerely regrets such losses. Wildlife Services has removed M44s in that immediate area and is completing a thorough review of the circumstances of this incident to determine whether improvements can be made to reduce the likelihood of similar occurrences happening in the future. Maybe like putting up a fucking sign? And before you go off on me and tell me that I'm scaremongering by calling these things IEDs, go take a look at the pictures of these devices in the article that I've linked to in the show notes of this episode at thelavaflow.com/58. These things look just like some booby-trapped sort of device that you would see from a guerrilla warfare soldier. Fuck these guys in the neck for putting this anywhere near someone's home without letting them know and without marking them up in some way. This is beyond the pale. In Gold is Real Money news, the LA County Sheriff's Department is switching their silver belt buckles for gold belt buckles at a cost of $300,000 to the taxpayer. But the taxpayer dollars won't go towards tools such as higher quality ballistic vests, backup guns, or body cameras, all of which are optional items that deputies have to pay for out of their own pocket. Instead, Sheriff Jim McDonnell is spending the money on a minor cosmetic makeover of deputies' uniforms, changing the color of their belt buckles and other metal pieces of gear from silver color to gold color. That way, the metallic bits, all made of brass, will match the gold-hued tie clips, lapel pins, and six-pointed star badges that deputies already wear. Because, you have to violate civil rights in style, right? How can they be expected to harass people who've harmed no one and beat the shit out of people when their jewelry doesn't fucking match? Give me a goddamn break. Sergeant Mike Ramirez, the department's uniform coordinator, said he's seen firsthand how a messy uniform can invite violence. He described a scenario in which one of his former partners, who looked disheveled and typically wore a more casual style of uniform than he did, was singled out by a suspect for a fight. This has got to be the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard a cop make in my life, and I've heard a lot of stupid shit said by cops. This whole thing just pisses me off. Of all the things a police department should be worried about, this is the one? Really? And they wonder why people are fed up with their bullshit. In Just Leave This Man Alone news, Marion County, Florida deputies helped apprehend an accused Vietnam War deserter. According to the Marion County Sheriff's Office, 75-year-old Lindley Benson Lindbergh lived in the Falls Retirement Community in Ocala under the false name William Michael Robertson for years. Deputies then transported him to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa for questioning. According to MacDill Air Force Base spokesman Terry Montrose, Lindbergh will be court-martialed on formal charges of deserting from a post in the United States in 1972. According to Marion County Sheriff's Office spokeswoman Lauren Lettler, quote, whether he has defrauded the government in any way, shape, or form will have to be investigated. We'll have to see what happened. Jesus. Another spokesman says, quote, he must have lived a horrible life knowing that he did that. He must have been sorry. A horrible life? Are you serious right now? I hope he lived a magnificent life, and that some lives may have been spared in a horrible war because of his desertion. Ironically enough, Lindbergh's position when he reported AWOL was that of an agent whose job it was to track down deserters. I'd love to buy this man a drink for realizing that what he was doing was immoral and running away. I hope he gets out of this okay. Otherwise, he's probably going to die in prison. What a shame. In some Lava Flow news, we now have some Lava Flow t-shirts available for sale at thelavaflow.com/swag. They're selling for $24.95 each plus shipping, and these shirts are made by the Rye Guys t-shirt company at ryeguys.com, WRYGUYS.com. You can get the Lava Flow logo on the front and your choice of statement on the back, whether it be keep striking the root or what the actual fuck. You can also choose a version of what the actual fuck that's a little more acceptable in mixed company. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable that I've ever worn. Rye Guys sent me a free t-shirt a few months ago, and I wear it all the time because it is that comfortable. They're made of 52% combed, ring-spun cotton, and 48% poly. Once you put this shirt on, you'll never want to take it off. Trust me. Get yours today at thelavaflow.com/swag. And finally, don't forget about the contest running through the month of March. The prize pack is a Pax Libertas Productions t-shirt from the PLP show of your choice, including this show, the NCAT Barbershop, Free Coast Freecast, or even Resist the Empire. You'll also receive The Lava Flow tote bag and a copy of one of my favorite libertarian books signed by the author. All you have to do to be entered in the contest is fill out a very simple short survey with only 17 questions. It's going to take only about 5 minutes of your time, and it will really help me out. And if you want to be entered into the contest, just put your email address in the last question. It's that simple. You can fill out the survey and get your chance to win this prize pack by going to thelavaflow.com/survey. Now, you're only going to hear about this contest on the Pax Libertas Productions podcast episodes because I want to restrict it only to people who actually listen to the shows. So don't expect reminders on Facebook or other social media for this contest. This contest ends at midnight this Friday, March 31st. So go do it now before you forget. thelavaflow.com/survey. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
Hey there, Liberty lovers. This is Mark Claire of the Lions of Liberty podcast, where we strive to bring you great conversations about the ideas of liberty 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check us out at lionsofliberty.com.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Talk the talk. Do you walk the walk?
One of the many things that you can do to protect yourself in a state of society is to encrypt your computer and all of your files. This is a recommendation that is commonsensical. However, it seems that the United States has effectively outlawed file encryption by judicial rule. An appeals court has denied the appeal of a person who is jailed indefinitely for refusing to decrypt files. The man has not even been charged with anything, but he was ordered to hand over the unencrypted contents on police assertion of what the contents are. When this can result in lifetime imprisonment under contempt of court, the United States has effectively outlawed file-level encryption without going through Congress. Authorities are justifying the continued detention of this person, and I remind you, this uncharged person, with two arguments that are seemingly contradictory. First, they say that they already know in detail what documents are on the drive, so the person's guilt is a foregone conclusion. And second, they refuse to charge him until they have said documents decrypted. This doesn't make any sense. Either they have enough evidence to charge him, in which case they should, or they don't have enough evidence, in which case there's also not enough evidence to claim with this kind of certainty that there are illegal documents on the drive. Without going through Congress, without public debate, without anything, this fuzzy contempt of court has been used to outlaw the encryption of files in this case. When authorities can jail you indefinitely for encrypting files out of their reach, the net effect of this is that file-level encryption has been outlawed, hands down. As Rick Falkvinge, founder of the Pirate Party and head of privacy at Private Internet Access, the company that makes the VPN software that I personally use, said, quote, "So were there illegal documents on the drive? We don't know. That's the entire point. But we do know that you can be sent to prison on a mere assertion of what's on your drive, without even a charge, effectively for life. Even worse than the UK law, which will jail you for up to 5 years for refusing to decrypt, and which at least has some semblance of due process." The point here isn't that the man was probably a monster. The point is that the authorities claimed that there was something on his encrypted drive and used that assertion as justification to send him to prison for life, unless he complies with no charges filed. There's absolutely nothing saying the same U.S. authorities won't claim the same thing about your drive tomorrow. Falsely, most likely. The point is that, with this ruling, it doesn't matter if it's false or not. Privacy remains your own responsibility. Thankfully, encryption of transmissions, like with a VPN service, has never been threatened like this. Transmissions are transient in nature and therefore they can't be seized. Now, I'm going to give you some advice, and take it with a grain of salt, please, because I'm no lawyer. Encrypt your data anyway. Encrypt your entire hard drive as if everybody is looking at your data. Encrypt your flash drives, disks, or anything else that may have data on it, no matter how innocuous. Do this for privacy. Do it for peace of mind. But most importantly, do it to give yourself a bargaining chip. This way, you get to decide how important your data is and who has access to it, even if you have to choose behind bars like this guy is. Apparently, his secrets are worth enough to him for him to sit behind bars for them. If your data isn't encrypted, you don't have that choice if they get your hands on your devices and drives. So please, encrypt your data. Get something like VeriCrypt for free, or spend a few bucks and get something with some advanced features like checkpoint full disk encryption. I personally use VeriCrypt, and I love it. Also, in relation to government technology, the FBI apparently has access to driver's license photos of tens of millions of American driver's licenses for its facial recognition software. After being grilled by the House of Representatives Government Oversight Committee, FBI spokesperson Kimberly Del Greco responded to several questions with statements that contradict what is currently already known about the scope and capabilities of the agency's facial recognition programs. Del Greco stated, when asked by committee chairman Representative Jason Chaffetz of Utah whether the FBI was collecting or storing photos of innocent people from other sources like social media, quote, "The only information the FBI has and have collected in our database are criminal mugshot photos. We do not have any other photos in our repository." Representative Chaffetz quickly replied, "That's not true." And he's right. According to a comprehensive report released last year by researchers at Georgetown Law, roughly half of all Americans have their photos accessible by a law enforcement facial recognition system. The report found that 16 states grant the FBI free access to driver's license photos for its next-generation identification and facial analysis, comparison, and evaluation photo searching system. The House Oversight Committee also recently learned that 2 additional states, Arizona and Maryland, have also been added, bringing the total to 18 states now. The hearings panelists quickly concurred that even if the FBI doesn't directly control some of the photo databases, it can still easily access them with no independent oversight whatsoever. Agreements with the Department of Motor Vehicles in 18 states currently allow the agency's face matching system to freely access residents' driver's license photos in order to conduct virtually unlimited facial recognition searches, according to Alvaro Bedoya, a surveillance researcher who sat on the panel and a co-author of the Georgetown Law Face Recognition Report. Bedoya said, quote, "Who owns and operates a database matters a lot less than who uses it and how it's used." Absolutely. Jennifer Lynch, an attorney with the Electronics Frontier Foundation, said that Del Greco's statement is false, noting the FBI repository does in fact include the photos of people not suspected of any crime. Lynch referred to a section of the Georgetown report, which is based on FBI documents showing that photos of non-criminals comprise roughly 16% of the FBI's NGI database. Chaffetz said, quote, "What scares me is the FBI and the Justice Department trying to proactively collect everyone's face." And that's exactly what they're trying to do, folks. Make no mistake about it. And no shit, that's scary. It should be. 18 states that we know of are already allowing the FBI to dip into their databases, and no telling how many we don't know about or who are going to be allowing it soon. New Hampshire, thankfully, doesn't have my picture in their database because we can opt out of allowing them to keep it here. And of course I did that. But there's very few states that allow for that. If your state allows you to opt out, I highly recommend that you take advantage of it for as long as you possibly can. The way things are going, we may not have that luxury soon. Once we lose this right, it's going to be up to you if you want your face in their database, or if you want to drive unlicensed, or if you want to stop driving altogether, at least until driverless cars get here. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite landlord, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on this show, go to thelavaflow.com/58. I don't have any new iTunes reviews this week. iTunes helps to steer people to this podcast based on ratings and reviews, so please go to thelavaflow.com/iTunes and leave me a rating and a review. Thank you so much to the 96 of you who have already left me a rating and the 81 of you who've taken the extra time to write a review. You guys rock. I'd love to get to 100 reviews in the next few months. Can you help me out with that right now and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/iTunes to do that now. Thanks so much. Unfortunately, I lost a huge supporter this week. One of my executive producer level donors at $25 per episode had to stop his support because of some personal issues that he's dealing with. And I totally understand, and I want to take a minute to thank him so much for his huge support of this show in the past. Sadly, this means that I've gone backwards in support for only the second time in 28 months that I've done the show. I'm now at $173 per episode, or 69.2% of the way towards my next goal of $250. I didn't receive any new supporters at all this week, so that's where I'm stuck at. If you want more of the Lava Flow, you can exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content very soon, so please make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.